So I went to Stanford, and I graduated, and I worked for a company called Cooking.com. And then, because who wants a straight path on their resume, I decided, hey, I miss journalism. I'm going to go back to news. And so I went and I got a job at CNN. But one of the conditions of me taking the job was I said, I want you to give me a chance to be on air. I don't necessarily just want to be a producer. If I'm any good, I want you to put me on air. And they said, okay. Now, early on, something happened, and the reporter wasn't around, and they had this story, and I was the one producing it, and one of the producers there said, okay, JJ, just go report the story. And I was so nervous, and I was awful. I mean, truly awful. I just thank God that it was at a weird time in the middle of a day on a channel that not that many people watch. It wasn't CNN. Because it was terrible. And I got off, and I felt so terrible, and I was looking for some sort of pep talk. And the producer, who was not that nice, said to me, JJ, you were terrible. I am never putting you on air again. And I felt terrible, but for some reason, I just kept making tapes. And she wasn't my boss. And so every month, I would send my boss a tape, and I'd say, am I good enough yet? These were things that I did on my own time. And he'd say, nope, still pretty bad. And I'd send him a tape the next week, and I said, am I good enough yet? And he'd say, nope, you're still pretty bad. And I got so used to hearing this rejection. I was like Teflon, like, oh, I'm bad. Yeah, he said I'm bad again. Wow. And I got so much rejection, but for whatever reason, I never felt dejected by it. I was used to rejection, but it never made me feel bad. I just figured that with enough time, with enough practice, if I listened to enough advice and have changed things enough, someday, somehow, it would work out. And you know what? It did. Because a year later, a year after I started CNN, I got my first real piece on air. And I mean, frankly, between me and you, it was still awful. But nonetheless, somebody saw something in me. And then soon after that, they changed my job from being a producer to a reporter, and I became a full-time reporter. And I found myself calling upon this sort of I think I can again sort of recently. I don't know if any of you guys, Paige and I were just talking about this, had a chance to see Sheryl Sandberg's TED Talk. If not, you can go see it on TED.com. And she talks about being a woman in business. She's the COO of Facebook, if you guys don't know who Sheryl Sandberg is. Now, one part in her speech, she talks about the idea of women who work, if their husbands work too, often take on more of the home stuff, the work, the kids, the housework, than their husbands do. It's not usually divided 50-50. Now, I love my husband. I adore him. He's fabulous. He's so helpful with the kids. He's so helpful with the house. But admittedly, since I grew up with a mom who was a stay-at-home mom, I kind of want to pretend like I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I try and take on everything myself. And so a little bit more of the burden falls on me because that's the way I have structured it. So to give you a sense of my life the past 5 years, in 5 years, I became the host of the show on MSNBC. I started my company, and I had 3 children who, until about 3 months ago, were all in diapers. They're 3, 2, and 1 years old. So I know, it always gets that reaction. It's a little bit crazy. So last year, somebody gave me, as a birthday present, a psychic reading. And so I called this psychic, which I know makes it sound even crazier than I got a psychic reading, so I called her. I didn't even meet her. But she was kind of a psychic reader to the stars, and it wasn't cheap, this present. And so I called this woman, and she started telling me all of these great things that were going to happen to my husband and me and my kids and all these fun things. And then she said, listen, JJ, I just want to warn you. At some point next year, you're going to have a breakdown. And I got on the phone, and I said to her, well, duh. I mean, I've got 2 jobs and 3 kids, and I've got all this going. Of course I'm going to have a breakdown. Somebody didn't need to pay you to tell me that. And I called my best friend, and I told her, and we were laughing about it. And so far, I have not had a breakdown, though I realize it's only April, and so I still have lots of months to have my breakdown in 2011. But something did happen to me a couple of months ago that doesn't usually happen. And that is that suddenly I couldn't get up. I was waking up every morning, and I couldn't get out of bed. And it wasn't because I was tired. I was getting plenty of sleep, despite having 3 kids under 3. But I actually was getting a lot of sleep. I just couldn't get up. And that's because I suddenly felt completely overwhelmed. I could not face the day because for the first time I thought, oh my God, I have so much to do. I don't know if I could do it all. And I called my sister, and she said to me, all right, JJ, do you want to do all of this? And I thought about it for a second, and I said, I do. You know, no one's making me do all of this. I can restructure my life. I can change things. I don't have to take care of all this stuff at home and have this show and run this company. I can change something, but I don't want to. And that's when I went, and this might sound a little bit cheesy, but I went and I read the book, The Little Engine That Could. And I said, you know what, I think I can. And if I think I can, then I can do it.